Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to be looking at this Stanhopea here. This is a Stanhopea tigerina, and I'm having a few issues with my tigerina. So it was down in the front corner of the greenhouse, and I noticed when I pulled it out, I was thinking it's time to repot this guy because it's absolutely packed. So that's one problem with this guy, but the other problem I found was we have scale on it. So this was a couple weeks ago, and I did remedy the scale right away, but you can still see a little bit of the dead scale. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about scale, make sure that you guys know what it is, and hopefully I can give you some ideas on how to get rid of it. Now, having pests in the greenhouse is rare for me. I don't come across plants that have got infestations very often, but of course it can happen. So when it does happen, you need to have a plan in place for it. You can't just have all of these plants around and not be worried about having scale and mites and bugs. When plants touch each other and two leaves touch like this, I call that a bug highway. And my plants are so packed in here, there's bug highways all over the place. So bugs can travel very easily through the greenhouse if they're around. So we have to make sure we take a few precautions and a few steps once we find problems like this to make sure that you remedy that bug highway and you don't let all the bugs spread all over your other plants. So it's easy to control bugs when you don't have that bug highway. When you only have a half a dozen plants and they're sitting on your windowsill and none of them are touching, super easy to deal with, no problem at all. When you have thousands of plants, it gets a little bit more tricky. So I do have weapons in my war chest for this sort of thing, and I made sure that I took the appropriate steps, or at least what I think are the appropriate steps. And today I was going to repot this guy with you, but then I seen there were still the remnants of the scale, so I thought we should talk about that in a video prior to me repotting this guy with you. So anyways, the first thing I did was I separated this one out because I didn't want that bug highway. Then the second thing I did was, you know, that water, alcohol, and dish soap spray that I have told you guys to make? I've done a couple videos on it. I just use a recycled bottle here, which is getting really old. It's 50% water, 50% rubbing alcohol that I get at Walmart, and about a tablespoon of the Blue Dawn dish soap. So I hit the scale with that right away, and it really basically stops it and knocks it back. The dish soap puts a little coating on the leaves, can't travel anymore. The alcohol itself dries out the scale, makes it very hard for this scale to live. And I took it outside, and it stayed outside like that until I had time to actually deal with it. And then what I did was I did have to use a chemical because you can't just pick this stuff off. This plant would be absolutely destroyed. So this is the ingredient I used. Acephate, I guess is pronounced. Acephate. There we go. Probably like that. I thought I'd write it down so you guys could have a look at it. This is not a brand name. This is an ingredient. So it comes in many brands, and unfortunately I'm not a big advocate of promoting them, so I'm not going to be sharing that with you. If you want to take that information I just gave you and work with it on Google and find the brands, that's up to you. But that product works for me. It's a very mild systemic. Doesn't hurt a whole lot. It's sort of an on-contact thing, but it is a systemic, so it works its way through the plant. So I had to bring this plant back into the greenhouse because you never want to spray those kind of things outside. So I have an enclosed greenhouse. So I gave it a spray with the systemics there and let it run its course. The half-life on it is fairly short, and within 2-3 weeks this plant is safe again. That's why I said this was about 2 weeks ago that all this happened, because right now this plant is safe again. And so I was just inspecting it today thinking it needs to be repotted, and I wanted to show you guys the sort of end results of this. This has only been one treatment, and I showed you this on the leaf. Now you can still see the scale, of course. It doesn't make it disappear, and scale is one of those things that's stuck there. So when you first find scale, let's see if we can get this in focus, and you take something sharp like tweezers or anything and you pick at it, it's going to be soft underneath, and it's actually going to have a bit of there's going to be fluid in the little scale. It's going to be moist. You would be able to squish it. Now this stuff here is very dry. All the moisture, the bugs are dead. All the moisture that was in them has evaporated out, And basically this just needs a good scraping, or when I spray it with the hose it'll all come off. And so that is all dead scale, so it's nothing to worry about anymore. And you see back here, you can see there's a good example. I see it on the camera more than I can see it on the plant. So look at this leaf, that was just covered in scale. Now I'm not worried about it anymore because I can do this sort of scale test, and once you played around with a live scale, and you can, I know that this is dead now, it's just too dry and flaky and powdery. So I'm not too worried about this anymore. So it's going to go back into circulation fairly soon, but it was quarantined all on itself. Now it was still in the greenhouse, but I eliminated that bug highway that we talked about earlier. So that product, and I'm going to show you the name one more time, just so you can make sure that if you choose to do this route, you can find that ingredient. Certain countries it's hard to find, other countries it's fairly easy to find, but unfortunately that is as far as I'm going to go to give you the necessary tools you need to find it there. Just between that ingredient and Google, you should be able to come up with something. So yes, the scale is dead. So now what? Well, I'm going to repot this, and when I repot this, and that's going to be on the next video, I will spray it with the hose, and I'll make sure I clean all this up. But maybe you can see a little bit more here. Can I zoom it in? It was really covered, guys, like you have no idea. So all of that is dry and dead now. That was remnants of scale as well, but no real damage. It was a fairly fast acting but new infestation. I'm just continuing to look. See how that one popped right off? Just kind of like was gone, like ping, just because it was like just dry as a bone. No life left in it whatsoever. So that's very good. And that is how you take care of scale. I also had to do a quick spray of all the plants around this one, because that bug highway, right? We always want to remember the bug highway. That's a good term to remember. And the other thing is, you know, this is my treasure chest, my gold mine. I do have to have a gun in my gold mine in order to make sure I protect my plants. So you need to ask yourself, if this happens to you, do you have a gun in your gold mine? Because, you know, these plants are worth lots and lots of money for all of us, all our collections. So it's never any good to have major issues. So I make sure I have the proper, I'm going to call it a gun. I make sure I have the proper gun, and it's not a real gun, of course. I'm just air quoting here. A gun from my gold mine for every kind of pest that you can imagine, and even for bacterial infections and stuff like that if I need them. I do not go that route usually. I try to deal with it as much as I can with my faithful rubbing alcohol, water, and dish soap spray. It works fabulous for the most part, even on scale. I'm just kind of walking around the greenhouse here and trying to find another plant. Bear with me, I'm stretching around the corner. I'm just going to throw this guy in front of the camera. So this is a mounted Phalaenopsis. Sorry, Cattleya. And anyways, it has been mounted here forever. Now if this guy was to get scale, this would be a prime example of a plant that probably wouldn't need to have a systemic used on it right away. I'm just putting it back now. You could probably just use a rubbing alcohol and soapy water solution that that I have taught you guys to make, and you should have no problem with it at all. It just, this one in this case was just, it was right in the bulbs, and there was so many cracks and crevices for it to hide. So anyways, there we go. There is a gun in the gold mine, weapon in the war chest. I normally don't touch base on this sort of video at all. A, because I haven't seen an aphid or a spider mite in here in years, and B, because it's not something I like to really promote. So I hope this video helps you with scale. If I get a warm reaction from this video and I have other issues in the future, maybe I will show you guys what I do to take care of those issues as well. If I don't get a warm reaction to this video, then maybe we'll just leave it at that. As I say, I don't promote these. I think that everybody should use them very responsibly. I don't think you should use them outside. I use them in my closed greenhouse and with the proper gloves, eye gear, and equipment when I have to do it. And I just make small batches up and basically do spot sprays if I need to. When I see a big infestation like this was, I just make sure all the plants around it get a little taste of the systemic as well, to make sure we don't have any problems or anything moving around that doesn't need to be here. So that's enough rambling. That is how I get rid of scale. It works great for me. Like I say, I'm going to repot this now. I'm going to do a video on repotting this. After it's done being repotted, in the next week or so, I'm going to make sure I hit it again before the systemics has totally worn off, just to be sure. It's nice to do two treatments, even though I don't see anything moving anymore. I don't want it to reoccur because I'm going to introduce it back into the rest of the greenhouse. So I hope you like this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. As always, thanks for watching.